Hello, and welcome to Canucks Crossing. It's been 2 weeks since I last made a video, and in that time the NHL season has started in earnest. Today I'll be doing a quick rundown of all the scores and major story points for the Vancouver Canucks season so far. We'll start with the Flames game. Week 1, Game 1, the home opener and season opener for the Canucks. The Flames played a game the night before against the Edmonton Oilers, winning 4-3. But the Canucks came ready to play for Game 1. Tons of energy and many new faces. The Canucks would score early, leading to a 1-0 game for a majority of the game. The first 2 periods were pretty quiet until the third period hit and the Canucks would score in bunches. 4 goals from the Canucks and 1 goal from the Flames, leading to a finished score of 5-1. It was a good early showing for the Canucks. We had points from just about every single forward except for the rookie Braden Coots and Atu Ratu. This is Braden Coots' first official NHL game, so we won't really credit that one against him. It was a good showing for the Canucks and a solid game, especially out of Thatcher Demko, to keep the Flames off the board because they were really pushing for a while there. Next up, the Canucks faced their division rival in the Edmonton Oilers, who they'd split wins with in the preseason. This game was quite a bit sloppier for the Canucks than their first outing. And while the defense and the goaltending really tried their best to limit the Oilers' offense, the Canucks' offense really struggled to get any sort of traction at all. This would become a recurring theme for the Canucks in the next couple games, but they've had a chance just about every night due to solid blue line and really solid goaltending from Thatcher Demko. The Canucks would take their first loss of the season, losing 3-1 to the Oilers in a really deflating performance, especially following the Flames game earlier. Hopes, I think, were pretty high for the Canucks, especially offensively, seeing that amount of scoring coming out from the Canucks. I think people were really looking forward to more from them, and they fell flat in a big way against the Oilers. Finish up the first week of the regular season, we have their game against the St. Louis Blues. Hopefully, this game is the worst we see of the Canucks this season because this game was brutal to watch. For skaters, it seemed like no players were feeling it for the Canucks this night. Even the usually solid blue line was pretty terrible. Hughes was really struggling even among them. To limit the speed of the Blues in any capacity, the Blues really just kind of ran over the Canucks. The Canucks struggled on both ends, barely finding any time or room for offense, and really just couldn't find a connection on the pass. We'll see in a lot of these games that the chemistry for the Canucks is really struggling. The only positives we can really take from this game come from 2 people. So we have Kiefer Sherwood scoring the only 2 goals for the Canucks. I believe one of them shorthanded, and really just playing super solid to start the season. Sherwood has had a lot of energy, a lot of pop, and really has just been trying his best to find where he fits on this Canucks roster. Last year, really just making a name for himself with a career high in points, but more notably, the record in hits by any player in a season. The other positive we have for this game, I'll say Kevin Lankinen. Even though he let in 4 goals, the 5th one being an empty netter, he held on just about as well as we can expect out of a backup goaltender in an away game. Especially so when he had almost no help from the team in front of him. Blues really just attacked with a ton of speed and outskated the Canucks at every point. Heading into week 2, the Canucks embark on their first road trip of the season. 5 games in a row on the road, and it's a pretty important stretch of games right away for the Canucks. Last year, the standings were pretty tight to make it into the playoffs, and we expect much of the same this year. So the Canucks will really have to keep a solid win rate if they want to keep pace. And after dropping 2 out of 3 games at home to start the season, things don't really look great for the Canucks. Likely need to come away with at least 3 out of the 5 wins on the road trip to call it good, but really hoping for 4 or 5 wins on this one. And with that being said, the first stop is Dallas. With ex-Canucks goaltender Casey DeSmith in net for the Stars and Demko in for the Canucks, the game starts off really rough for the Canucks, with Elias Pettersson deflecting a puck in front of his own net for the first goal for Dallas. The Stars would score again in the first period to go up 2-0 going into the second period, and shots heavily favoring them. Going down 2 goals, and with shots heavily in the Stars' favor in the first period, the Canucks showed no quit, scoring 4 goals unanswered in the second period. Really just kind of turned it up. The shots weren't anything crazy to to call home for, like the amount of shots, but they would find some really solid chances and find their way in the back of the net, particularly with Connor Garland really fishing for a goal there for a while with a couple shots going right across the goal line. The Canucks would ultimately end up taking this game 5-3 after trading single goals in the third period. The Canucks penalty kill and goaltending coming in clutch this game. And you can see the forward group slowly starting to come together for some nice offense. Still would like to see the shot totals come up, but it's nice to see that they're getting goals when they really need to. The next day on the second half of back-to-back, the Canucks are facing the Chicago Blackhawks. And while many would pencil this in as a free win for most teams, Blackhawks are looking to be much better this season, and I think they're not really hoping to be in the Gavin McKenna sweepstakes, but we'll see how that goes for them. The Hawks would have a dominant first period, going up 2 goals to the Canucks 0 while having one called off. Honestly, this one was a bit of a nail-biter for the Canucks. They really were just in their own zone for the majority of the first period, really struggling to find their footing. But the Canucks would answer with their own 2-goal period, including a goal from Jake DeBrusk on his birthday, and Max Sasson with his second goal in 2 games since joining the main roster. Max Sasson really showing off his speed, showing why he's really getting that look instead of Braden Coots, who has gone down to the WHL at this point. Yeah, really solid second period from the Canucks, and then the Blackhawks would turn it on in the third period, but end up just barely not able to score, forcing overtime, and then ultimately a shootout winner from Brock Besser, giving them a 2-0 lead on their road winning streak to start the season. Rounding off week 2, we have an early morning game Sunday against the Capitals. I didn't get to watch the game, but I was kind of like peeking at highlights and watching it from work. The early morning weekend ones are kind of hard for me to watch, but I was wearing my jersey in the kitchen ready to go. The Canucks get off to an early start, scoring from Pettersson only a minute in the game, and I gotta be honest, that is a huge sigh of relief for this Canucks team. Pettersson really needs to get going if they're expecting to do anything this year. And they would total 3 goals total for the Canucks in the first period, really turning on the offense like we have needed to see. Big first period. Early into the second period, Canucks would get their 4th and final goal of the game, unfortunately leading to a bit of a desperation mode for the Canucks as they lose 3 players. Hedel, Lekaramaki, and Bluger all would leave the game due to different varying reasons. Big one for Hedel would be a big open ice hit by Wilson a little bit late after he gave up the puck. I don't think anything's going to come from this hit. I don't think we'll see any sort of player safety come into a factor here, but hopefully, fingers crossed, things go well for Hedel. He has really struggled with concussions in the past, and to see him sidelined so quick into the season when he has been playing really well so far would be really sad. Bit of a really tough one for the Canucks to handle. Following those Canucks players leaving the ice, the Capitals find their groove. They're on the offense to come within 1 goal of tying the game, but in the end, the Canucks come out the victors, sporting a 3-0 record on the road and a much better overall record of 4-2 for the season when they were at 1-2 when they started the road trip. At note, at the end of this game, we see Elias Pettersson with a bunch of blocks in the defensive zone, particularly on Ovechkin, but on the rest of the Capitals as well. I think this end of the game really highlights the parts of Pettersson's game I think people are pretty reluctant to see. He is so good on the defensive end of the puck pretty much all the time. He is a solid back checker, good poke checker, and even more this year, we're seeing him get in the way of shots, blocking a lot of shots, putting his body on the line. Pettersson's defensive play has always been one of his strengths, and really we need to see a bit more offense from him. With all the games out of the way for the week, I'd like to briefly touch on what the Canucks have been doing well so far, where I feel they could use improvements moving forward. Positives will start with an easy one. Thatcher Demko. His play has been spectacular to start the season. He really gives the Canucks a chance to win every night he plays, and even if his own play isn't up to his personal standards quite yet, his play has been really quite amazing. I think it's 922 save percentage, and he has really just filled the bill. I mean, this is more of the Demko we're used to seeing, and hopefully his body can keep up with the workload, and he can put some good wins together for the Canucks. Next up on our list of positives, we have Kiefer Sherwood. His 4 goals is good for the team lead in goals, and 3rd place in points on a Canucks team that has really struggled to find their offensive groove. He mentioned he wanted to work on his shot this last offseason, and so far it seems to be paying off. Last but certainly not least, Quinn Hughes yet again leads this team. Not just because he's the captain, but he's definitely the best player on the roster. Hughes is putting up huge minutes, 30-plus minutes in a game, and is still putting up a really good total for points. Second place on the team with 1 goal, 4 assists in 6 games. Hughes is really just putting this team on his back and has no quit in him. Every time I think we see the best out of Quinn Hughes, comes out and plays even better than he did the year before, and I think this year will be no exception. Now on to what they could really need improvement, and the list could be quite long. There's a lot of things you could nitpick about this Canucks roster, quite a few new faces, and honestly the results haven't quite been where we want them to be, but I'm going to keep it to 2, nice and short. I think really the main issues that are plaguing this team, and the first one is Elias Pettersson. He's once again in the spotlight for struggling to produce offensively. With only 1 goal and 2 assists, Pettersson really hasn't looked terrible outside of the own goal he scored in the Dallas game, but he also hasn't been super noticeable, and he hasn't been playing up to his contract. Defensively, he's been solid. Lots of block shots, intercepted passes, but in the offensive zone, he really struggles to get anything going at all. He's been passing a lot, often having less than 5 shots a game, which from your highest paid offensive player, highest paid player on the roster, that's just not going to cut it if the Canucks want to be better than last year. Hopefully he, takes something from this game against the Capitals. I think he really had a standout game. What I gather from online comments, the post-game highlights and stuff like that, I think we will see a lot better out of Pettersson than I think the first 4 games really had us hoping for. But yeah, he's really going to have to find his groove if the Canucks want to be a playoff team. Now for our second part of their big issues, really just the rest of the forward core. In general, the Canucks have really struggled offensively this year to maintain pressure in the enemy zone. And while this could be due to a couple factors, I think we'll name a couple here. We have quite a lot of new faces on the Canucks. Whether it be rookies like Braden Coots or Mancini, or even veterans traded to the team like Evander Kane. But this team is also playing with a new coach in Adam Foote. And with that happening and him figuring out his coaching style and how he wants to play the game, Canucks really struggle to have any chemistry with their line mates. Their line mates are changing quite often. We've seen Pettersson and Hedl kind of swapping back and forth. We see the wingers swapping spots. We've seen that third line center really move around quite a bit. And now with potentially Hedl and Blueger going out injured, then we'll see even more roster churn there. Yeah, the Canucks really struggled to make connection on those passes, to get a proper one-timer off, and just to find each other when things get hectic. Whenever they're below the goal line in the enemy zone, they're making plays to put the puck in front of the net, but they're really just not finding another Canucks player. It's just ending up in open ice, and the puck gets cleared away. So if the Canucks are going to be any kind of good team in the league this year, they're really going to have to figure out their forward chemistry. Because while their blue line has been really, really good, and their goaltending has been even better, you can't win a hockey game if you can't score points. All in all, the Canucks haven't quite had the start they were hoping for, but recent games they seem to be finding their game more. That being said, we'll have to see what comes out of the injured players from the Capitals game and seeing how the Canucks handle their first test with injuries. This will be especially important given the past year where they were also dogged by injuries early into the season. I'm hoping that I should be able to keep up with the pace of video a week, but we'll leave the video there for this week. If you like this video, please hit the like button. If you care to support the channel, please hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you again next week on Canucks Crossing.